Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Life's Unfair, my Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous playthrough series. Today we are going to be tackling Wintersun. Now this is, Act 3 obviously, and I tackled this place kind of towards the beginning of the act, so some of the things you've seen in a few of my previous episodes, I don't quite have access to those tools here because, well, this is still early days for me. I think I should have probably put this off until closer to the end because there are some ridiculously tough fights here, for being completely honest. But I hard-headed it, completed the whole thing. It took me about 9 hours to finish the whole thing from beginning to end. Because, as I mentioned, there are some tough encounters. So, in the beginning, you could see there I was fighting those Smilodons. Smilodons, bad news in the best of cases, but yeah, they were pretty tough. After that, you kind of walk towards so there's an area with water and like a totem, and it's a bit of a mystery trying to figure out what's going on here. You're looking for one of your lost squads, and you find them all basically impaled on stakes or crucified, and yeah, it's mystery solved, I guess. But then the remaining mystery is how the hell did it happen? Because there's really no indication of what happened. So you proceed a little further in and run into some demons. Here you can see they're not too tough. A bunch of Babaus, and then these two Langolier monster things. It's a Stephen King reference. After that, so this is an interesting item here, this Brazen Whip. It's pretty good. I still use it. I use it on Darren basically all the time. Because it makes summons a lot stronger. But if you pick it up, this thing spawns, and it just screams at you for a bit, and then you're like, okay, whatever, I'm just gonna leave. So you can pick it up and leave if you want. Now you can cheese this by picking the item up and putting it back and then leaving the zone, and then you will get the item without having to fight the Spectre or anything. But I wanted to just, play it out. I wanted to fight the guy. So what I did was I picked it up, saw that, if you go further up here, then there are two Smilodons that fight alongside him, and he just stands there and buffs them up. He actually buffs them with haste and everything, and he makes them ridiculously hard to kill. So what I opted to do was just kill them initially. That way I don't have to deal with them fully buffed up. So kill them and then pick up the whip and then walk away. I thought that was the end of it. I was like, oh, okay, that's not too bad. Then we walk into this village here, and I guess these are the guys that are responsible for killing your squad. And what you see in here is pretty ridiculous, right? A bunch of demons and a bunch of humans kind of living in harmony. I want to say it's not really harmony. There's a bit of a story here. And so the humans are basically seeing the demons as humans. They don't see them as demons. The Sarkorians believe that the demons are humans. There's some illusion being cast that prevents them from perceiving them to be demons, and they perceive us to be demons. So they perceive demons to be humans and humans to be demons, and that's why the squad was impaled, because they thought that those guys were demons, so they killed them. So there's something going on here. So we run into Gesmerha here, who is, I guess she had her eyes poked out for committing some act against the chief, and we tell her that there's something weird going on here, right? Nothing attacks you, none of the demons attack you, none of the humans attack you. Even though they believe you to be a demon, they don't attack you because you have the protection of the spirit of the land or something. And so this Gesmerha tells you that, well, they can't be demons. We have ward stones that prevent that from happening. And so you run around the city and you find out that the ward stones have all been destroyed. And then you report that back to her, and she's like, oh my God. So there are demons here. And she tasks you with going and talking to the chief and telling him. But he's basically on the side. He's a demon lover. So you go talk to him, and then he kicks your ass, and I got my ass handed to me badly there. So this is the cave that's kind of right behind where the ghost spawns, and the guy here is Ciar. If you remember him, he's one of the guys in Drezen. Tasked you with finding this guy. And so he has been stung by this thing out here. And this thing is probably the worst fight in the whole place. Like, I could not kill it. And there's really no way to cheese it either, because you're very limited in like your options here. I got super lucky here. So goddamn lucky. Look at this, okay? Dismissal worked on it, but look at what was required here for dismissal to work, right? Okay, still on unfair, whatever. 6,500 EXP, definitely awesome, but look at that. Look at that. 20, a nat 20 roll and a nat 1 roll. So overcoming the spell resistance required a nat 20, because his spell resistance was 34, and nat 20 got me to a 35 roll, which overcame it, right? And the will saving throw required a nat 1 to land. So that was a 1 in 400 chance of occurring, right? It's basically 2 nat 20s in a row, essentially. 1 in 400 chance of that outcome, and we got it. That was so lucky. After that, we head on into the back room here, and Morveg has picked up the sword, and it enrages him, and he's a sad case. He wanted to use the power of the sword to kind of Fang of Malice. It makes you enraged. He wanted to use it to fight demons. He's a Sarkorian, but unfortunately it kind of corrupted his mind, and he was on the verge of death as well, because he was stung by that thing in there. And so yeah, he basically asked us to kill him, and we did oblige. Picked up the sword, some other good stuff in there. Pretty sad story. We do eventually go and report that to Ciar. So here, we opt to finally fight the Spectre, and it's a pretty ridiculous process. Obviously cast Death Ward on everybody here, and you have to fight this thing a bunch of times, right? It's level 17 plus level 8. It's not an easy fight, and each time you encounter it, it does different things. So that first time you fight it buffs up the Smilodons, but I killed them, so they were no big deal. Then you kind of run up a little bit, and you fight it again. And then after that, I was like, well, how many times do I have to fight this? So I'm running around looking for where the next encounter is, and this is the next. So this is the worst one of them all. By far, the worst encounter of them all. You can see what it did to me when I walked into it kind of unaware. So beyond that firestorm, another thing it does is it summons a bunch of swarms and a gigantic worm. And the swarms just run for your backline. Obviously, Death Ward doesn't help you against those things. And so what I opted to do was to fight them from inside the city. So I nuke the swarms with fire spells, and then I fight them in the city. And he casts this firestorm on your guys, and it just takes damage on everybody who doesn't save against it until they basically die. It's a horrible spell. It caused me some serious issues. So we take out the swarms finally, and we head on back down to the ghost, to the Spectre and his worm pal here. And then these two are not so bad. The swarms were honestly the worst part of this encounter. The firestorm is really bad too, but he's cast it already now. So I don't have to worry about him casting it again, because and then the summoned Elder Purple Worm, my summons take care of that without too much trouble. So we've taken him out 3 times now, but that is not the end of it. So you can see these stones here as well. Okay, here's the 4th one, very close by, and this time he casts so all his spells are pretty nasty. Casts an entangle spell that does damage every time you kind of move. And yeah, it's not pleasant. We're able to take him down here as well. Honestly, the third one is the worst one, if we're being completely honest. After that, the rest of them are pretty straightforward. So we've taken out the 4th one. Here's the 5th one over here. You could kind of see where he was on the map there. He casts Entangle. This one takes a while just because I don't know why he took so long to go down. But he has some beefy stats here. Doesn't want to die. And you need Death Ward on everybody here. Unfortunately, you cannot get away with just having it on your tank, because he has a tendency to just get off get off the tank and go hit everybody else. So if you don't have it on every single one of your party members, he'll just target the guy that does not have Death Ward and kill them. He drains levels and yeah, hits pretty hard if you don't have it. After that, right, so another section of this area has a bunch of Treant enemies, has some Sarkorians, has some animals, this part of the map has some really tough fights. So these Blighted Quickwoods are tough because they regenerate, similar to the guys in Blackwater, except they are vulnerable to fire damage, right? It's not electricity, it's fire damage. So if you don't have fire damage... So this is one of those areas where the Burnt Ashwood Staff, you can buy that for 60k, is amazing. I don't have it yet, but I do eventually pick that up on Ember. And I use it as we progress in Act 3. So these Blighted Treants, you could see, they basically do a charge attack, which kind of destroys all your summons. They just walk through them and kill them as they're walking. They don't even have to hit them. But we are able to take them without... These two are not as bad as the other Treants. And then we run into this insane half-elf up here, Miammir, who is basically a deserter from the army. So there's somebody back at Drezen who tasks you with finding her... Oh my god. This episode is dense. I barely have time to finish talking about one thing before on to another thing. But it's kind of the price of trying to fit 9 hours of footage into half an hour. I'm sorry, but I didn't want to make this 2 episodes because I want to move on. I'm in Act 4 now. And I kind of want to get to Act 4 with my videos, but there's a ton of Act 3 content to cover before we get there. So I'm going to try and get everything into single episodes, but let's see how it goes. So this thing, right, level 27 Treant, and I'm showing this is a failed attempt here, and the reason I'm showing it is because you could see how low I got it. It bugged out, but unfortunately it unbugged and killed my party. So here we're back to talking about Ciar, and we hand him over the Fang of Malice. We could have kept it, but I'm not going to use it, so I just go with the good path. And also finally bring Siabrae to see Miammir. And she wants to punish her, but I'm like, come on, this lady's clearly lost her mind. It's really not good to punish her. But you can see she's lost her mind because, not Siabrae to see her, she's clearly lost her mind because she's being like possessed or something by this druid spirit thing. So what I opt to do, the fight is basically impossible. Like, there's no way I would have been able to kill this thing without the cheese here. It casts some nasty spells. So what I do is I run my party away and then pull it with the pet. And Siabrae, Miammir is a beast, right? She's the reason I win this fight. She may be insane, but she's unkillable. And look at this. This literally took about 40 minutes of just standing there shooting her. I'm sure if I had spells or I used stuff like that, it would have been easier, but just pure physical damage, yeah, it's a long encounter here. Yeah, we're able to take her out, take out the druid spirit there, and get a good chunk of EXP from that, and then we opt to take out the Treant here, level 27 Treant, this time with, renewed gusto. We have more spells. I believe we leveled up on that previous fight. And so, yeah. Initially, what I was going to try and do was to pull it up to Miammir, but no. We don't have to do that in the end. Using fire spells and everything, and summons, we're able to take it out. Oh, and I won't say without too much trouble, because it was a lot of trouble, and it was basically down to my last few spells, because I hadn't discovered that meta magic 10,368 EXP for that kill. Definitely worth doing. Drop some good stuff too. Those standing stones, definitely make sure you interact with all of them. Here's another Spectre on this side of the... you have to kill the Treant to get to this thing. And yeah, it's not the last Spectre. I think this is the second to last Spectre. So there's one more after this one. So we take it out and proceed. Right. I decide to have because my party doesn't have Death Ward and I don't want to rest again. So that's the reason I have them all standing up there. I want them to be able to help because Razor Fiend really cannot damage it, but I don't want him to run up and kill them all. But even considering the distance there is between the rest of my party and this thing, look at what he does. It's I hate this. I hate this these specters because yeah, it's crazy. He runs straight up and I have to use turn-based mode. I'm just chasing him. And we get pretty lucky here with a nice, yeah. Desna, please guide her hand. Because, yeah, we don't want to get destroyed. He's almost dead though, so we get him. We get him. Get him with that last magic missile spell. But again, it's not the last one. And he did negative level my dog, or Triceratops. After that, more Treants over here, and these are the bad ones, and to take them out, so I died there, unfortunately. Resting up. So to take out these Treants, what we opt to, I mean, we take them out by kiting them, but before that, there's, this is the final Spectre here. So the last one's over here, and this one casts Sirocco, which is a bit of a messy spell because it not only does it do repeated fire damage, but it also knocks you over. But now I rested, right, so everyone has Death Ward. So trivial because of Death Ward. Yeah, so you need Death Ward if you intend to take that thing out. You can probably do it, or if you're like a solo character with the Death Ward, you don't need it on everyone, obviously. You don't need 7 Death Wards or 6 Death Wards. After the Ghost, those final 2 Treants over here, and then there's a bunch of Sarkorians behind them. And I think short of the demon in the cave, I think the Sarkorians are the second hardest fight. So I think the final boss is the third hardest fight. The demon in the cave is the hardest fight. The Sarkorians are the second hardest fight. And then maybe the spirit, the druid spirit. I mean the druid spirit because you can cheese it. I'm not going to rate it as a hard fight. The Treant is probably the 5th hardest fight. 4th or 5th. And then the guy you get the whip from is 4th or 5th as well. So yeah, we killed the thing for the last time there, and it told us to come visit it. The Spectre told us to come visit it where we picked up the whip, so we talked to him here, and he's like, oh, you are worthy, you have killed me so many times, congratulations for destroying me, you are worthy of carrying my whip. You get some EXP for it, so that's one reason why you kind of want to do it. 3600 EXP, nothing to shake a stick at. Worth doing for the EXP if you're willing to put up with it. If you don't want to, if you're willing to give up the 3600 EXP, you could technically pick up the whip, put it back, and then when you leave the zone, you can just pick it up then. But yeah, this area is the bog, kind of near those Treants. If you turn left from the Sarkorians, there's like a fork, and you go down into this bog here, swamp. And I'm just going to speed through this entire sequence because it's just me killing a bunch of animals. So the only important thing here is I used Nenyo's dimension door to get me up here. And so the first fight is a bit of a tower defense fight here. Just pulling them all into this location. And Darren has a little flirtatious moment there in the waterfall. I just push him in. It's hilarious. It doesn't make him too happy. But yeah, there are a lot of animals out here. A lot of them. So not a lot of reward for this. It's like 200 EXP a kill. But there are a ton of them. And no exciting loot. Just animal skins and stuff like that. Looking for different locations to kind of pull them to make it easy. Mass summons make some of these fights, I don't want to say trivial, but easier than if you just try and tank and spank. Especially because if the fight goes on long enough, they pull off the front line and go for the back line. And there's really no where that you can easily block them down here. I mean, there are locations, if you're willing to pull everything all the way the hell up into the main section of the map, then there are locations where you can definitely cheese it easier. So after taking them out, we head into the cave and run into Soana, who's a kind of druid who is talking about her spirit animal friend, who's a bear, that you saw initially when we kind of walked into this valley. He shows up in the area that I teleported to with Nenyo, and he, he's obviously wounded. He looks pretty messed up. And so trying to figure out what's going on with those two. So she tasked you with going out and taking care of him, killing him, because he is kind of corrupted and stuff like that. But it's a bit of a tragic story here. So he's not a super tough fight, not a trivial fight, but not super difficult either. Obviously, just a bunch of summons and stuff like that make the fight a lot easier than just fighting it head on. So yeah, summon him, and then you see him show up here, right? He runs in, and he starts off in combat, and he's a teleporting bear, right? He can teleport to you, teleports behind you. Nothing personnel, kid. But we opt not to kill him, right? You can see he's infested with parasites and scars, and yeah, he's a sad bear. And yeah, I opt not to kill him. I want to find out what's going on here. So we spare his life and then head back into the cave to talk to what's-her-face again and figure out what the hell she did to this poor animal. And so she is not a good person. She's not a great person. But there are really no good people here. I mean, her intentions are good, but the way she went around it, the way she went about is not good. So she's basically corrupting animals to fight demons. Kind of everyone in the Sarkorian civilization is kind of that way. It's like anything to fight demons. They're willing to do some disgusting stuff to fight off the demonic hordes. But I guess, if you were living with the demonic hordes on your doorstep, it'd probably be that way as well. So you can see we ended up killing her. There's really no way to save them both. It's either her or the bear, but the bear, I felt more sorry for the bear than for her. And if we let her go, she'd just keep doing it to more animals. So I opt to kill her. And then these are the Sarkorians. This is probably the second worst fight outside that demon in the cave. And the reason it's such a bad fight is the archers. They target your backline constantly. It took me over an hour to kill just these guys here, even with summons and everything, because of the archers. And what I did was I summoned a bunch of stuff, attacked them, killed a few of them, and then ran everyone away. And then saved the game. That way I have fewer to deal with. Right, I saved again there, and now there are just these guys left. And yeah. At this point it's not too bad. But you can see they hit ridiculously hard, and Razor Fiend's about to die. Yeah. Kiting to survive. Run, Razor Fiend! Run! You got this? Yeah. Had to use turn-based mode there and get the last attack. And yeah, we've got him. We got him. And this is the last standing stone there. So once you have all the standing stones, come over here to this heart of stone here, and you get some nice stuff. That ricocheting crossbow is pretty crazy. Yeah, definitely want to pick those up. And the necklace is good for... I gave it to Arushale. Look at that. Some good stats on that. Both do... the crossbow does AoE damage. Here's the boss again. So what I figure out that we can do is we can start the encounter with summons and have everything kind of positioned. That way we don't have to go through all the dialogue every single time, and everything will be kind of available for area of effect nukes here. We position everybody in stealth near the doorway, and we're able to start the fight. So this whole fight, I'm not going to fast forward through this at all. By fast forwarding through the rest of the content pretty aggressively, we were able to see the most important fight in this whole place in all its glory. So there's about 5 minutes of this, and look how many summons I have here. Look at this. The Horde. Darren is basically a lich. So cast, you could see the Ice Breath did ridiculous, has a ridiculous cone, and it does a lot of damage. So cast resistances, cast Ice Resist on your Horde, and then just nuke the crap out of everything. The 2 demons go down pretty quick, but the dragon and the boss, Marhevok, they don't go down very easily. Marhevok especially. Marhevok, sorry. He's pretty rough. The dragon, not as bad, but yeah, Marhevok is not good. Kind of feel like he gets what he deserves at the end of all this. Yeah, we got it. Come on. All right, everyone, definitely take out the dragon first, because just the area of effect that it does is pretty tough to deal with. After you have the dragon taken care of, it's a bit easier. Then you're just dealing with one dude, right? So now I finally bring Razor Fiend in, and the reason I'm bringing Razor Fiend in is because now all the skeletons around him are basically dead. So now you can see he just switched over to Nenyo immediately. And boom, now he's on Ember. It's a tense fight. Aggro management and summon management, and then making sure the dragon goes down, because that dragon's almost dead, but almost dead is not dead. If it doesn't die, if it casts one more breath spell, that's basically that. I don't think my resists are up anymore at this point, and that one breath would kill Arushale and Wendwog probably. So there goes the dragon, and now Razor Fiend. He's tanking. He has to tank, unfortunately. Right. Yeah. So this he's a ranged enemy as well, which makes him extra rough. He has throwing axes. Pretty nasty guy. The reason I didn't know this when I fought this guy initially, but if you run Wendwog in your party, this place is worth doing early, because I'm still using the weapons that he dropped on Wendwog. They're ridiculous. And we get him. It's mostly Ember with her controlled fireballs, right? Ring of the Salamander is amazing. I don't know if we have the belt and the other ring at this point yet. I think we do. But right, it's a lot of EXP, right? 6,900 EXP for a single kill, 10,000 for the Treant. There's a lot of EXP to be had here. So here we find him right in the back talking to Jerribeth, who we encounter later in the Ivory Sanctum, and she's basically saying that this city is kind of like her playground where demons and humans can kind of coexist, and it's an interesting idea, but we're not gonna stand for it. You have the option of just letting it continue, but I opt not to. I send her fleeing with her tail between her legs, and I don't kill Marhevok either. I let her take him. So these are the throwing axes, right? Both +3 and amazing, ridiculously good throwing axes. And I give them both to Wendwog, and she's a powerhouse. I'm in Act 4 now. I just started Act 4 yesterday, and I'm still using them. I haven't found anything better yet. So after that, run out into the city, and everyone's pretty much taken it pretty well. They've adapted, and they're like, oh, well, okay. I would have expected more sadness. That's going to be it for me. I will see y'all in the next one.